Run 63 by Salem. I woke to see nothing but darkness. Groggily, I lifted myself off of the cold, smooth ground and attempted to recall what had happened. I searched for any recollection of the past. However, everything seemed to have been crushed deep in my mind, rendering all memories inaccessible. My boots tapped on the hard, slippery floor as I cautiously inched forward into the unknown, feeling around for an exit. The soft material of my glove pressed against a ceramic surface. Before I could take another step, a mechanical whirring surrounded me, and the floor began to rise at an alarming rate, shaking the enclosure. I fell against the curved wall as the tube spiraled upwards. After a few seconds, the whirring noise subsided, and the structure came to an abrupt halt. Warm rays of sunlight bounced around in the ceramic material, filling the tube with a thick, green haze. The gentle sounds of the wind and the calls of birds were filtered and distorted by the tall cylindrical structure. I jumped, grabbed a hold of the rim, and hopped out of the pipe. The greenery and white sands of a familiar environment surrounded me. To the north was a tower castle constructed of huge limestone bricks. A bridge arched over the sparkling turquoise waters of its moat, connecting the castle to a sandy path. To the west, a waterfall rushed over the hills, crashing into a moat and flowing eastward to form a lake. As my shoes padded along the sandy path, a lakitu drifted behind me. Purple butterflies floated past. Everything felt the way it should be, perfect even. I crossed the bridge and stepped into the castle's checkered floors. Its wooden doors creaked shut behind me, silencing the sounds of nature and bringing a grand melody to life. The huge walls of the room were painted with a simplistic depiction of a spring afternoon, much like the one outside. As I approached the bottom left corner of the castle's main room, the faint, high-pitched voice of Toad became apparent. "I'm glad to see you. The princess and I, and, well, everybody, we're all trapped inside the castle walls. Bowser has stolen the castle's stairs, and he has used their power to create his own world in the paintings and walls. Please recover the power stars. As you find them, you can use their power to open the doors that Bowser has sealed." His disembodied voice echoed in the bare room. As I attempted to make sense of his message, the urge to do as he said became a necessity. It filled my mind, pushing everything else out in the process. Hurriedly, I ran along the red carpet and made my way to the left door, and leapt into the painting of a war-ridden grassy field. As I surveyed my surroundings, I became lightheaded. The message drowned out everything else. I tensed up, terrified. It was deafening, unbearable. Bones of creatures cracked under the pressure of my body, but I took no notice. My mind was buzzing. A blissful, joyous feeling washed over me. After an eternity of feverishly uncontrollable chaos, my body collapsed limply onto the hot desert. Dry heat and grinding sand had worn cracks into my leathery skin. Realizing I had regained control, I got to my feet and began staggering towards the edge of the landscape. In my dazed state, I nearly fell off the vertical slope. The desert ended on all sides in an unforgiving drop. Unnerved but too exhausted to give it much thought, I lay back and tried and let the sound of shifting sands in the wind calm me. Something nagged at the back of my mind, boring a hole into my thoughts. Unable to rest, I got up, slowly becoming reinvigorated. The horrible itching desire to do as the toad said still lingered. It drove my tired body through a plethora of different environments. A molding, ghost-ridden house. A relaxing cyan lake that held a shipwreck in its depths. A towering rock mountain and dozens of others. I risked my life to retrieve the stars that each of the landscapes held. As the days ground on, my mind began to clear. Thousands of organisms wandered the courses, accompanying me. Each member of the species was unnaturally identical. I'd once despised the creatures, but I began to feel disgusted with myself for what I had done to them. They seemed to be as helpless as I was. The once beautiful castle now appeared to be desolate and in despair. The music that had played remained silent. I walked the blank, empty halls of the castle, constantly searching for the next star. Apparitions swarmed the back garden and worn hats were scattered about the obstacle courses. It felt like many had traveled these areas before, always alone. Gradually, the desire to retrieve stars faded. Occasionally, I caught glimpses of a camera, always just behind me. Each time it quickly glided out of sight, not wanting to be seen. However, I knew it followed me everywhere. I couldn't stop thinking that someone was watching me. The paranoia was enough to snap me out of my routine. I exited the castle and walked to the southernmost hill. Birds still chirped and butterflies still dotted the skies, but the landscape was no longer comforting. It felt tainted, an imitation of something greater. As expected, the hills ended in a vertical drop. I sat at the edge of the grass. Hundreds of feet below the suspended island was a sea of blue light. The questions flooded my mind. What was this place? Why did everything simply end? Who put me here? I sat there hunched over for hours, staring into the blue abyss, contemplating jumping. It was a pathetic idea. I had to continue. After spending days scouring the castle and its courses for each star, I stared at the cloudy sapphire night sky painting on the walls of the uppermost room. Beaten and exhausted, I walked up the red stairs and climbed into the tunnel. Purple light dimly illuminated the suspended objects. I trudged through the course and clambered into the pipe that led to my final obstacle. The Koopa-like monstrosity awkwardly maneuvered himself around the disintegrating course. I easily outsped him and rammed his huge mass into the surrounding landmine, setting my anger and disgust free in a hazy state. On the third detonation, the tired beast's shell cracked open. A voice escaped its unmoving mouth. "You've really beaten. This time, Mario. I can't." The abomination fell limp, shattering its shell under its own unsupported weight. Organic and mechanical material spilled out, filling the air with a revolting odor. His corpse teleported away, leaving behind a final star. As I walked towards my reward, a sharp wave of pain coursed through my body. Rapidly, the result of all the inhuman feats I had accomplished caught up to me, overwhelming my senses with excruciating pain. Tears of agony splattered on the grim-covered floor. I fell to my knees and crawled for a few more feet before succumbing to unconsciousness. I couldn't make it. For the first time since I had exited the pipe, I dreamt. The world of my dreams was similar to my prison, though it sprawled without bounds. I was an ordinary man, neither famous nor wealthy, but content with life. My brother, Luigi, and I operated a plumbing company called Mario Bros. Tension grew between the Mushroom and the Koopa kingdoms, corrupting our lives, forcing us into a situation we had no part in. My brother and I argued furiously for weeks. Bombs fell, extinguishing life and reason. My dream faded into reality. Damp, muffled voices became clear. Toads of different heights and features bustled around the pristine white room. I was wheeled past tens of large glass tubes, each holding a body. The further I went, the more distorted and inhuman they became. On each corpse arm was a marking of red ink. I looked down at my body. Its unnatural shape was nearly indistinguishable from those in the chambers. Pain paralyzed me, rendering me unable to move or scream. All I could do was watch in silent agony. I was branded with the mark 63-119, restrained and placed in a glass chamber. I could make out the tube adjacent to me, enclosure number 64. It held an unmarked corpse. Mist sprayed from the ceiling of my glass cage. As my vision faded, the fresh body was taken away. I woke to see nothing but darkness. That was Run 63. Final thoughts? It was good. I've had a hard time thinking of things to say about this one. It feels like not a whole lot happened. I enjoyed the bulk of the story. I thought it was interesting going into the mindset of Mario as he does what he does. What I find confusing about this story is that it's clear that it's not a video game, however it has limitations as if it were a video game. Maybe that implies that it's some sort of simulation that the clones of Mario go through as some sort of training or experiment. That being said, I don't feel like we know enough in the end. The entire last paragraph was interesting, but we need to know just a bit more so we can really make theories. Too much information means you have little room for theories, but too little means that any theories would have no backing to it. There's too little direction to really point people in any clear direction. All around, though, I enjoyed it. That's it for this creepypasta. Tune in again next Saturday when we tackle yet another story made and sent in by the fans with Bones. If you want to write your own story, help Peer edit a story, or even read the stories early, check out the description where you'll find the link to the Creepypasta section of my forum. You'll also find the link to the playlist of every Creepypasta reading I've done. If you're interested in keeping up on my blog posts, join the Facebook fan page linked below, and if you want to support me and what I do, check out the Patreon page in the description. Remember that if you want your story to be read on the show, you must stay active on your post on the forum, as well as read the forum rules. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, sweet dreams.